Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving headfirst into what might be the biggest strategy launch of the year.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking about Anno 117. It just dropped on November 13th, 2025. And the expectations were just sky high coming off of Anno 1800.
The legendary game, yeah.
So what we've done is sift through that initial, that first wave of player reactions to really figure out what's going on now that the franchise is in the Roman Empire.
And for you listening, our mission here is to really get to the heart of the main debate we're seeing everywhere. Is Anno 117 just a beautiful Roman reskin of 1800?
Right.
Or did the developers actually evolve the mechanics in the way that, makes it a true sequel?
The early consensus seems overwhelmingly positive, which is always a good sign for a launch. People are talking about incredible depth, tons of replayability.
Hmm?
They love the setting. We saw one quote that I think it sums it up perfectly. Someone just said it's Anno and fucking Rome.
And that's really what a lot of people wanted.
But what's making it so replayable, it can't just be the setting, right?
No, and that's the core of it. The shift to Rome and what they call Albion, so ancient Britain. That's the big visual change, obviously. But the really clever part is how they've used that setting to justify some pretty fundamental changes to the gameplay.
Okay, so let's jump right in with city planning, because this seems to be the first thing everyone is talking about. The diagonal building and roads.
Oh, it's a game changer. Universally praised. For some older fans, it's a welcome return, but for players who started with 1800, it's completely new.
And it's not just for looks, is it?
Not at all. It's a psychological shift. I mean, think about Anno 1800. You were almost pushed into building these perfect, rigid, right-angle grids to be efficient.
The spreadsheet city.
Exactly. The spreadsheet city. In 117, the diagonal options, they naturally encourage you to build a more organic-looking metropolis, especially for your main city. It's like the game is telling you, hey, you can go build your grid paradise on another island later, but let this first city feel lived in.
It takes the pressure off, yeah. And that idea of a dynamic city seems to feed right into the new adjacency bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
That system got a total rework.
A massive one. In 1800, you'd have your housing blocks way over here and your forestry production way over there by the harbor. It worked, but it felt.
A little silly, yeah, unrealistic.
Totally. Your cities felt sterile. But now, in 117, production buildings give these small stacking bonuses to houses in a radius around them. So you're actually rewarded for mixing things up.
So you're creating actual commercial districts.
You are. It feels so much more like a living ecosystem.
And they even get into the nitty-gritty with things like the garum production chain, the fish sauce.
Right, the stinky fish sauce.
Yeah, people noted that building it actually gives a negative happiness effect over a pretty wide area. So you have to be smart. You build your nice mixed-use zones, but you still have to isolate the smelly industries.
It's such a great little touch of complexity. And that's before we even get to the needs system, which is also refined. It offers, as the community calls it, a choice in chains.
A choice in chains, okay.
So instead of a rigid list of needs, you have more flexibility in how you satisfy your citizens, which seems tailor-made for future DLC. It feels like they can slot in new cultures and new products seamlessly.
That makes a lot of sense. And that theme of integration carries over perfectly to the return of land combat. Land troops, fortifications.
Yes. This was a huge criticism of 1800. It was all naval.
All ships, all the time.
And if your game is set during the Pax Romana, I mean, you kind of need the Roman legions to matter, right? People were saying 1800 just didn't have that RTS land battle feel.
So now you can actually, as one user put it, land soldiers on people's land.
You can. And it puts everything else in context. Your navy is for securing trade routes and blockading, but the ground combat is for securing territory. It makes the whole strategic map feel relevant, not just the water between the islands.
So you go from the physical city layout to this higher level strategy, and the game seems to add these more abstract layers on top of that, like the new faith mechanic.
Right, the faith mechanic and the knowledge tree. Choosing a patron deity isn't just for show. It gives you real, tangible production buffs. It lets you branch out when upgrading citizens.
Meaning my Roman city could develop in a completely different direction than yours, just based on which god we chose to favor.
Exactly. It's a huge new layer of differentiation.
Though we do have to mention this is one of the first launch bugs people are hitting.
Ah, yes.
Apparently, choosing your patron can be a bit buggy. The default is series, who gives a big workforce bonus. So if you build your whole early game around that bonus and then try to switch and it bugs out,
you're suddenly short hundreds of workers and your entire economy grinds to a halt.
ouch. A classic launch week problem.
Definitely. But moving from friction to something that's, well, the opposite of friction, the specialist rework, this is a massive quality of life win.
In 1800, getting the best specialist was all about luck, right? Just endless dice rolling at the prison or the visitor's pier.
It was pure RNG, pure fate. Super frustrating when you needed just one specific guy to optimize a chain. Now you can just re-row them for cash. You can literally throw money at the problem until you get the specialist you need. It respects your time so much more.
I love that. So with all these new buffs, the adjacency, the gods, the specialists, what does that do to the math? I mean, the core Anno loop for a lot of people is calculating perfect production ratios.
That's the fascinating trade-off. It makes calculating a perfect ratio almost impossible to do on the fly. There are just too many variables now.
You'd think that would annoy the hardcore optimizers.
You would, but the consensus seems to be that it's a deliberate design choice. And this is the key insight for you, I think, since resources are technically infinite in the late game.
Right. Overproduction never hurt anyone.
Exactly. The game is subtly pushing you away from pure spreadsheet optimization and towards more aesthetic, dynamic city building. It's less about 100% efficiency and more about creating a city that feels good and looks incredible.
And if you're new to all this, if this level of complexity sounds intimidating,
the sources say the campaign is a fantastic tutorial this time around. It does a much better job of explaining all these interlocking systems than any Anno game before it.
okay, this all leads to a really interesting point about the franchise itself. This Goldilocks problem that big strategy series always face.
Absolutely. The Anno fan base is fiercely protective of the core gameplay loop. And they have good reason to be.
You mean Anno 2205?
I mean Anno 2205. Fans, and I quote, rioted when that game came out. It changed way too much, went into the future, and got rid of core mechanics like dedicated trade ships. It didn't feel like Anno.
So Anno 1800 was seen as a huge return to tradition. It brought the series back to its roots, and that's why it was so beloved.
And you see fans drawing parallels to other series that have struggled with this. They'll point to something like Frostpunk 2.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
Where fans felt it became just a very different game. It moved away from city survival and became all about politics. Or how some Civilization games tried to reinvent the wheel and end up alienating their base.
So the final verdict on 117 seems to be that the developers learned from all that. They nailed the balance.
They absolutely did. The sentiment is that they've made all these great improvements without losing anything in the process. It feels like a fair, smart evolution of the 1800 formula. It's still Anno, just more of it.
Okay, so let's pivot, because no launch is perfect. We have to talk about the technical side, and specifically the controversy around AI assets.
Right. And we should be really clear here. We're just reporting what the community is discussing.
Exactly. So on the game's Steam page, the developers disclose, and I'm quoting, AI tools were used to help create some in-game assets. And they added, in all such cases, the final product reflects our team's craft and creative vision.
And this was mainly for things like loading screens, background images, but it caused a huge debate. Some users immediately dismissed it as AI slop.
The discussion really split into two camps.
It did. On one side, you have the pragmatic view, that AI is just a tool, and a big team can use it to crank out background screens really fast. The argument is that this frees up human artists to work on the more important stuff, like the 3D models and the UI.
And the other side?
The other side is a lot more concerned with the ethics. They bring up the environmental impact of training these models, and more directly, the issue of employment. For these players, the idea that a company used a tool instead of hiring more artists to do that work, it just soured the whole experience for them.
It's that classic tension between technological efficiency and the value of human craft.
And that's not the only friction point. There are some more standard technical issues. The game is huge. 100 gigabytes on console.
Wow.
Yeah, people are having to delete other games just to install it. And there's some performance reports. People with decent setups struggling to get a stable frame rate, sometimes sub 30 FPS.
And then you have the usual suspects, right? The required Ubisoft account, the de novo anti-piracy software, which some players claim hurts performance.
Yep. All that, plus the faith mechanic bug we talked about earlier, it's the typical cocktail of launch week growing pains.
So, to synthesize all of this, if we pull everything together from this deep dive, it sounds like Anno 117 is a story of controlled, successful innovation.
I think that's the perfect way to put it. They captured the magic of 1800, but added these really smart, meaningful changes. Diagonal building, the adjacency system, ground combat. It's exactly what fans wanted. More depth without breaking what already worked.
They didn't make the 2205 mistake again.
Not even close. It's a blend of refinement and new ideas, and the base game is so strong that the community is already going wild speculating about DLC.
I saw that. They're talking about Egyptians, Greeks, Gauls.
Macedonians, Carthaginians, all these different cultures that would bring in incredible new trade goods and production chains. The foundation is there for years of content.
Which brings up a really interesting final thought. The challenge for the developers now is to keep this amazing balance they've found.
It is. And that leads to a question for you, the listener, to chew on. Given how well this careful refinement has been received versus the backlash they got for massive change in the past,
Right.
what's next?
Right.
What historical setting could they possibly tackle next that still delivers that core Anno experience without breaking the formula? Could they do something like ancient Japan, or maybe go back to the Caribbean? The success of 117 has set the bar incredibly high.
Food for thought. We will see you on the next deep dive.